Mahyanatimirannasya snakya saksvanvitam yena tasmai shigurve namah. Shitchitaya manopistam staptam yena bhutaleshvam upradamyam dadati svapadantikam. Vandeyam shiuda padkamlam shirom vaishnavam sham. Shiyopam jagajatam saganaragnatam pitam tam sajivam sadvaitam saudatam pajanasaitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saganalita Shivishakam Pitam Sam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jatpate Gopesh Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaura Hirade Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanastadevhi Pranamama Haripe Makakotra Vishakri Pasanve Vishabhatnam Pavanbhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavina Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Bhaskatyai Desatarani. Srila Prabhupada Ki. So, we are continuing our study of the Bhagavad Gita, second chapter. We are at verse 27. That we heard how Lord Krishna explained to Arjuna the symptoms of the soul, that the soul cannot be killed in any way, that the soul does not take birth, that it's inconceivable, immutable, invisible, that and then we heard last session, text 26, that so Lord Krishna says, and when you don't believe in the soul, he says, when you think that the soul takes birth and dies with the body, still there is no reason to lament. So even if you don't accept the soul, and if you accept the soul, and that's the first text we will discuss today, then still you should not lament. In the next verse, he will say, whether you accept the soul or don't accept the soul, it doesn't matter. Still, you should not lament. So, Bhagavad Gita is quite systematic. Krishna goes from one point to another. That if you believe that the soul does not exist, and the next point is if you believe that the soul exists, and then it doesn't matter whether it exists or not, we have still no reason to lament. And we will see how Krishna explains that. So, 27. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Yatasya Devo Mrityo Dhruvam Janma Mritasya Cha Tasmat Apariharite Natvam Shoshitam Arasi. One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. So one who has taken birth is sure to die, and after death one is sure to take birth again. Therefore you should not lament, Arjuna. Arjuna, he says, don't be caught by illusion. You cannot stop this cycle of birth and death. It's not that you think you are going to kill Bhishmadev, that he will not die, but he will not take birth again. So the previous verse was about when you do believe, so this verse is when you do believe in the existence of the soul. The previous verse was when you don't believe in the existence of the soul. And the next verse, 28, Krishna will say, whether you believe or not believe in it, in this, that this verse is true, you still have no reason to lament. So one who has taken birth is sure to die. When we take birth, we die from the moment. Srila Prabhupada said, we are born with death. That every moment our life is shortened. We say happy birthday, but it should be happy death day. But already, yes, you have died already so many years. Of course, people usually call the last part of life death, but Srila Prabhupada has quite another definition of that. But it was the illusion of the people that it's in the Mahabharata. Yaksha is asking Maharaj Yudhishthira, what's the most amazing thing in this world? Maharaj Parikshit replies, the most amazing thing in this world that everyone is making plans like to settle in this world like they are going to live eternally. But no, we get a body and a certain time in the body. It's rented by our karma, and then at the end you have to get out. So that's the illusion of the people. And in the Bhaktivedanta course we discussed today, yes, that what is illusion? That the impersonalists say this world is illusion. That the devotees don't say that it is illusion. It is reality, but it is temporary. And taking the temporary as eternal, that's illusion. That's the problem. So yes, one who takes birth is sure to die. That means that the death rate for everyone is 100%. That coronavirus or not is 100%. Nobody can stop it. So one who takes birth is sure to die. Materialists, they think these devotees, they are pessimistic. They always think about death. But is it not reality? Why are the materialists striving for achieving so many things? Soon you have to go. That it's all for nothing. Because it's all temporary. But the devotee is not pessimistic. He lives to live eternally, to get back our eternal life. This is the most positive philosophy. The soul is eternal, and that's good news. We are not going to die. It's only the body. So now, text 28. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamathyani bharata. Avyaktanidhanam yeva tatvaka paridevana. All created beings are unmanifested in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? So all created beings are manifest in their beginning, manifesting in their interim state, and unmanifest when annihilated. In other words, this body, at one point, if you look at our body, it has been put together, lumped together. Yes, so this body they call Bhakti Prabhav, this body. But how did this body come about? By eating vegetables, prasad made from vegetables mainly. These vegetables come from the earth. So the body is just a combination of earth with the water. We drink so much water, fire of digestion, earth, water, fire, and ether. Like that, mind, intelligence, false ego, it's all put together. So it is just a combination of all these things that and before this body was in existence, all these elements were in the earth, they were there. And from that reservoir of elements in the earth, some earth is taken to make up the body, and then according to the formula, some water, and that makes air, fire. It's all put together in a pot, this body. And then all created beings. So before that, we were unmanifested. Now it's manifested. So there was a time that all these elements, which are now Bhakti Prabhav, were unmanifested. That they were just in the form of the elements, water, air, ether, and so on. So all created beings are unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in their interim state. Sometimes it remains like this, and unmanifest again when alienated. After the soul leaves the body, after death takes place, then they burn the body and either burn it or bury it in the ground. That in the Christians, that I learned as a Christian on Ash Wednesday, it's emphasized that ashes turns to ashes, dust to dust. So we come from dust, from earth, and we are going back to the earth, the body. So you were unmanifested before, you are manifested for some days, and now your body is being distributed again to the different elements. So what is the need of lamentation? So if you accept that the soul exists, this is what is going to happen to the body. It was unmanifested before, it was manifested for some time only, and then it will be unmanifested again. So when the soul exists, it is true, and when the soul doesn't exist, this is also true. So therefore, what need is there for lamentation? So either you have knowledge, Arjuna, or you don't have knowledge. What does knowledge mean? Knowledge means you understand the difference between the soul and the body. So either you have knowledge or you don't knowledge, still you should do your duty and fight, stop this childish lamentation. So this verses here in Bhagavad Gita are about the soul, the difference between the soul and the body, and explains the nature of the soul. And the purpose of speaking that to Arjuna is, or one of the purposes. Of course, Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita for us. It was an arrangement that he made. But he wants Arjuna to fight and give up his lamentation. And we can give up our lamentation if we become absorbed in this knowledge and realize it. So, in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, there, Hiranyakasipu, great demon, his brother had just been killed by Varahadev, who killed Hiranyaksha. And by that, his mother is lamenting Diti. Diti said, yes, that Lord Vishnu has taken the part of King Indra, of the demigods. So he's partial. And they were angry and were lamenting. But now what is Hiranyakasipu doing? He's preaching this part of the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita to get them out of lamentation. He's a demon, Hiranyakasipu, but he uses transcendental knowledge to get its purpose. He preaches it, and after that, in the next chapter in the Bhagavatam, he does not follow anything what he preaches. So he has his motivation. But it's very interesting how he presents it and how the points that he made are very true. And I will read a few points because they are really explaining how these verses from Bhagavad Gita, how we can understand them more deeply. Yes, it starts. He speaks to his mother and his brothers, his cousins, who are lamenting about the death of his brother Hiranyaksha. And he speaks to his mother Diti. He says, "My dear mother, in a restaurant or place for drinking cold water, many travelers are brought together. And after drinking water, they continue to their respective destinations. Similarly, living entities join together in a family. And later, as a result of their own actions, they are led apart to their destinations." So that's very interesting. Like travelers coming together for some time, and then they split. So we are born in a certain family. We have parents, sisters, brothers, but we are travelers in time. It's just so temporary. All these relationships, it's illusory because it's based on the body. But still, we can use this bodily relationships. And all these relationships, by supporting each other to advance in Krishna consciousness. But it's very temporary. Soon we leave the body, we go to the next body. That, like in the Bhagavatam, it is said like two straws on a river. In the stream, they clit together for some time, then they separate. So it's like that, very temporary. Everyone can look in his lives when you are 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, you look back and there are so many relations you have which are not existing anymore. People died or you never saw the person again. This was your good friend, but it disappeared by time. So all these relationships come to an end. They are illusory. Real relationships are relationships which are durable, which continue to exist. And that is our relationship with Krishna. That's our eternal relationship. And reviving that relationship, that will give back our eternal life. But everything is so temporary. And interesting, a little further, Hiranyakashipu is telling a story, and I'm going to read that story. This is a story of Yamaraj, who appears before lamenting queens of a king who died. So it starts here. It's an old history, a Purana, which means old history, histories of bygone ages. In the state of Ushinar, there was a celebrated king named Sujakhya. When the king was killed in battle by his enemies, his kingsmen sat down around the dead body and began to lament the death of their friend. His golden bejeweled armor smashed, his ornaments and garments fallen from their places, his hair scattered and his eyes lusterless. The slain king lay on the battlefield, his entire body smeared with blood, his heart pierced by the arrows of the enemy. When he died, he wanted to show his prowess, and thus he had bitten his lips, and his teeth remained in that position. His beautiful lotus-like face was now black and covered with dust from the battlefield. His arm with his sword and other weapons were cut and broken. When the queens of King Ushinar saw their husband lying in that position, they began crying, "O Lord, now that you have been killed, we have also been killed." Repeating these words again and again, they fell down, pounding their breast at the feet of the dead king. So they were lamenting, and lamenting very loudly, that normally in the end, and the sun was setting, normally the body must be cremated before sunset, but they would not leave the body. They continued lamenting. As the queens loudly cried, their tears glided down their breasts, becoming reddened by kumkum powder, and fell Upon the lotus feet of their husband, their hair became disarrayed, their ornaments fell, and in a way that evoked sympathy from the hearts of others. The queens began lamenting their husband's death. So there's a selfish aspect in that lamenting. They are lamenting that to invoke sympathy from others, that others would say, "Oh, that's you have bad luck," and that then they would feel better. And also, at that time in the Vedic culture, certainly, when the king would die, and he would go and they would organize the funeral, then they light the funeral pyre, and the queens, they step into the fire, follow the king in his death. Of course, that was voluntary. But they wanted to delay that. That's another selfish aspect. Say, "O Lord, you have now been removed by cruel providence to a state beyond our sight. You had previously sustained the livelihood of the inhabitants of Ushinar, and they were very happy, but your condition now is the cause of their unhappiness." So they blame providence, cruel providence. So we may ask in our lives that many times things happen that we don't want and we suffer by providence. Providence means the reaction of our own karma. That how does the devotee see that? He sees the hand of Krishna. Krishna is putting me in that position so that I should surrender to him and take shelter of Krishna. So providence is Krishna's mercy always, good or bad. O king, O hero, you were a grateful husband and the most sincere friend of all of us. How shall we exist without you, O hero? Whoever you are doing, please direct us there, so that we may follow in your footsteps and engage again in your service. Let us go along with you. The time was appropriate for the body to be burned, but the queens, not allowing it to be taken away, continued lamenting for the dead body, which they kept on their laps. In the meantime, the sun completed its movements for setting in the west. So at the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, apparently the queens did not want to deliver the dead body for burning because they were afraid of dying with the dead body of their husbands. While the queen were lamenting for the dead body of the king, their loud cries were heard even from the abode of Yamaraj. Assuming the body of a boy, Yamaraj personally approached the relatives of the dead body and advised them as follows. And that's interesting. That Yamaraj takes the form of a young boy. Why the form of a young boy? Because these ladies will become attracted to a young boy who speaks philosophy. They will want to hear it. Because normally someone who laments and you speak philosophy to that person, they will not want to hear or understand. Arjuna was in a different category. He was under Krishna's Yoga Maya, spiritual energy. As Srila Prabhupada says about Arjuna, Arjuna was 1,000 times more capable, more qualified than all of us. So we can understand. You are on the battlefield, you are going to fight, and there you have a 2-hour philosophical lesson by Krishna. that philosophy not easy to understand, but Arjuna understood. We can also understand it. We may have to hear it many times from different angles. So we try to understand this Bhagavad Gita a little deeper by hearing from different sources. So Yamaraj appeared as a young boy. Now he's speaking. He said, "Alas, how amazing it is. These persons were older than me. They have full experience that hundreds and thousands of living entities have taken birth and died. Thus they should understand that they are apt to die, yet still they are bewildered. The conditioned soul comes from an unknown place and returns after death to that same unknown place. There is no exception to this rule, which is conducted by material nature. Knowing this, why do they uselessly lament?" So he says, "Yes, I'm a young boy. But you are much older than me. You have seen so many people take birth and die. Your husband died, yes, the king. But you are the next one to die. You see someone being executed, you are then the next to be executed. And all that lamenting will not bring him back. So Yamaraj continues. It is wonderful that these elderly women do not have a higher sense of life than we do. Indeed, we are most fortunate, for although we are children and we have been left to struggle in material life unprotected by father and mother, and although we are weak, we have not been vanquished or eaten by ferocious animals. Thus we have firm belief that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has given us protection, even in the womb of the mother, will protect us everywhere. So that's the kind of faith we must have. That if we follow Krishna's instructions, then we will benefit. We will make spiritual advancement, and we will be able to give up the attachment to this world by becoming attached to Krishna. So we will be able to surrender. So the boy addressed the women, "O weak women, only by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is never diminished, is the entire world created, maintained, and again annihilated. This is the verdict of the Vedic knowledge. This material creation, consisting of the moving and non-moving, is exactly like his plating. Being the Supreme Lord, he is completely competent to destroy and protect." So here he makes the point, Krishna is in control. That he organizes providence and gives you the karma that you get from previous life. And he is the controller. If he is controlling material nature, can he not protect us and maintain us? So take shelter of Krishna. Sometimes one loses his money on a public street where everyone can see it, and yet his money is protected by destiny and not seen by others. Thus the man who gets lost it gets it back. On the other hand, if the Lord does not give protection, even money maintained very securely at home is lost. If the Supreme Lord gives one protection, even though one has no protector and is in the jungle, one remains alive, whereas a person well protected at home by relatives and others sometimes die. No one is able to protect him. Prahlad Maharaj will say the same thing in his prayers. Balasya, that he said a child cannot be protected by his father and mother. That even with the best so-called protection, the child can have an accident, or a doctor, a medical doctor, cannot save his patient even with the best treatment or best medicines. Or someone travels on a boat, does not mean that he reaches his destination. Could be a storm, the boat can sink. That. So finally, our protection depends on the Supreme Lord. So again, it's our duty to surrender to Him and gain His protection. Every conditioned soul receives a different type of body according to its work. When the engagement is finished, the body is finished. Although the spirit soul is situated in subtle and gross material bodies in the forms of life, he is not bound by them, for he is always understood to be different from the manifested body. So yes, we are different from the body, we are some time in the body, and we have some engagement during our life, but then it's finished. It's all gone. So hearing this knowledge, the purpose is that we change our consciousness. Our consciousness, and as a purpose to bring us to the point to simply carrying out the orders of the Supreme Lord, so that we become free from this influence of material nature. Yamaraj continues, just as householders, although different from the identity of his house, thinks his house to be identical with him. So the conditioned soul, due to ignorance, accepts the body to be himself, although the body is actually different from the soul. This body is obtained through a combination of portions of earth, water, fire, and when the earth, water, fire are transformed in course of time, the body is vanquished. The soul has nothing to do with this creation and the dissolution of the body. That as fire, although situated in wood, is perceived to be different from the wood, as air, although situated within the mouth and nostrils, is perceived to be separate, and as sky, although pervading, all-pervading, never mixed with anything, so the living entity, although engaged within the material body, of which it is separate, it is a source, it is separate. So the soul has nothing to do with the body, does not come in contact with matter, the soul. It's just the consciousness, which is a symptom of the soul, which is contaminated by and by that we think we are the body. And by that we think ourselves the doer in this world, which we are not. That Yamaraj continues, and now Yamaraj is going to use strong words, because we hear this second chapter here, this knowledge of the soul, but we need strong words to get out of our ignorance. He says, "O lamenters, you are fools, mudas. The person named Sujahya, for whom you lament, is stilling before you and has not gone anywhere. What's the cause of your lamentation? Previous, he heard you and replied to you, but now, not finding him, you are lamenting. That is contradictory behavior, for you have never actually seen the person within the body who heard you and replied. There is no need for your lamentation, for the body you have always seen. The body you have always seen is lying here." So about more than 30 years ago, I was the head of administration of a home for old people, retired people, 80 years, 90 years old. There were 188 of them. And every year, 1/3 of them would die. Every year. Every 2 days, someone would die. So I was every day practically daily confronted with death. I saw an old man leaving his body. I looked at his eyes, and his eyes was like the light went out. You can see the soul in the eyes, the living, because it's a soul who sees through the eyes. But the light went out, and the last breath came, and the daughter was crying, "My father is gone, my father is gone." It's nice to say that, my father is gone. So he's not a body, he has gone. But that means, yeah, you may recognize that so-called at the time of death, but why not recognizing while the person is living that the person is not a body and the spirit soul? And if we are not a body but a spirit soul, why not acting as an eternal spirit soul instead of acting as a temporary body? So if the person is an eternal soul, what's the point of lamenting? It's contradictory to say, "My father is left," and then lamenting. Recognizing is not a body. There's no need for lamentation, for the body has always been dead. The life in the body was the soul. Continue. In the body, the most important substance is the life air, but that also is neither the listener nor the speaker. Beyond even the life air, the soul also can do nothing, for the super soul is actually the director, in cooperation with the individual soul. The super soul conducting the activities of the body is different from the body and living force. So that is important. It's not our body. This body is functioning because of the super soul. Super soul is the owner, all-pervading super soul. And we are desiring, I want to move my hand, and my hand moves. What is Krishna doing? So it's important not just to recognize the soul in the body, but also the super soul. Because the soul is supposed to follow the directions of the super soul. Krishna gives the same directions in Bhagavad Gita. But because we are bewildered by the modes of material nature, thinking we are the doer in the body, we don't have contact. Also, although Krishna is all-pervading, is everywhere. He's doing everything in the world. But that's the reality. But we are disconnected with our consciousness. In illusion, we think we are the doer. The 5 elements, the 10 senses, and the mind all combine to form the various parts of the gross and subtle bodies. The living entity comes in contact with these material bodies, whether high or low, and later gives them up by his personal prowess. This strength can be perceived in a living entity's personal power to possess different types of bodies. Yes, we have got so many bodies and different bodies made of different materials in different planets. As long as the spirit soul is covered by the subtle body consisting of the mind, intelligence and false ego, is bound to the results of his fruitive activities. Because of his covering, the spirit soul is connected with the material energy and must accordingly suffer material conditions and reversals continually life after life. So we are connected with the material energy to the pollution of our consciousness, which makes us think we are the body and this is mine. And therefore, what's our duty in life is to connect our consciousness with Krishna by always thinking at the lotus feet of Krishna, that by engaging the mind in the service of Krishna, by hearing Krishna's words, that by getting inspiration from the super soul in that way, so then Yamaraj continued, it is fruitless to see and talk of the material modes of nature and their resultant so-called happiness and distress as if they were factual. When the mind wanders during the day and a man begins to think himself extremely important, and when the dream at night and sees a beautiful woman enjoying with him, these are merely false dreams. Similarly, the happiness and distress caused by the material senses should be understood to be meaningless. So this happiness and distress has no meaning. Think about all the happiness and distress that you go through. Mostly distress, probably, not so much happiness. It's just so futile. We have nothing to do with it. It's all a play of material nature, the connection between the senses and the object of the senses. Hearing this jnana, this knowledge, creates a mood of renunciation in our heart, which is good for advancing in devotional service. Yamaraj continues, those who have full knowledge of self-realization will know very well that the spirit soul is eternal, whereas the body is perishable, are not overwhelmed by lamentation. Again, Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, what we are studying now. But persons who lack knowledge of self-realization certainly lament. Therefore, it's difficult to educate a person in illusion. It's very difficult to try to convince someone of this knowledge who is deep in illusion, who only lives to enjoy the body, that they cannot understand, and that's a problem. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, for ordinary person engaged in material activities, and there are many subject matters to understand, because such persons do not understand self-realization. One must therefore be educated in self-realization, so that under any circumstance in life, he will remain steady in his vows. And then at the end, the Yamaraj tells the queens and gives them tells them another story. It's a short story. There was once a hunter who lured birds with food and captured them after spreading a net. He lived as if appointed by death personified as a killer of the birds. While wandering in the forest, the hunter saw a pair of Kulinga birds. Of the two, the female was captivated by the hunter's lure. O queens of Sujanya, the male Kulinga bird, seeing his wife put into the greatest danger of grip of providence, became very unhappy. Because of affection, the poor bird, being unable to release her, began to lament for his wife. Alas, how merciful is Providence! My wife, unable to be helped by anyone, is in such an awkward position and lamenting for me. What will Providence gain by taking away this poor bird? What will be the profit? If unkind Providence takes away my life with half my body, why should he not take me also? What is the use of my living, half of my body, bereft and by loss of my wife? What shall I gain in this way? The unfortunate baby birds, bereft of their mother, are waiting in the nest for her to feed them. They are still very small and have not yet grown their wings. How shall they be able to maintain them? Because of the loss of his wife, the Kulinga bird lamented with tears in his eyes. Meanwhile, following the dictations of mature time, the hunter was very carefully hidden in the distance, released his arrow, which pierced the body of the Kulinga bird and killed him. Thus, Maharaj, in the guise of a small boy, told all the queens, "You are so foolish that you lament, but do not see your own death. Afflicted by a poor fund of knowledge, you do not know even if you lament for your deaf husband for hundreds of years, you will never get him back alive. In the meantime, your lives will be finished." So, this is Yamaraj himself speaking, that yes, this lamenting will not help. The story of the bird we find also in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. There you have the 24 spiritual masters. And one of the spiritual masters are two pigeons. And it is exactly the same story about the Kalinga birds. And the male pigeon, seeing his wife captured and the baby, the children, that birds, he becomes overwhelmed with lamentation, and he's also captured in the net of the hunter. But in a lecture, Srila Prabhupada on these verses, he gives another example, and where the ladybird and the children are captured by the hunter, and the male bird male pigeon sees the situation and said, "Oh, Krishna wants me to take sannyas." Because nothing you can do about it. If he tries to save them, then he will also be captured. So we cannot save others from death. that's not possible, that we will also die. So better to use our time good and by engaging in devotional service. But the cultivation of this knowledge is important because we need this detachment from the world, that so that we can use our mind to become attached to Krishna. Because if we are Bau, Sakya, Anantasa, with the mind is too much going to different things in this world, then it's difficult to perform devotional service. Therefore, we need to hear this knowledge again and again and again and understand the futility of striving striving to make a career in this world and all these things. No, just work honest for your maintaining and cultivate this knowledge and engage in devotional service, and will be much more happy than trying to get this happiness and this stress in this world. That it is just a fata morgana. Any questions? So I hope it makes sense what I said, that my purpose was not just to present his philosophy, but also point to the practical application of it. That, of course, there are much more things to say, but then next time we will continue, and Geldi, we will go to another section in the second chapter. This is really the Jnana section of the soul. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
Thank you, Maharaj.